Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, January 4, 2018. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Disturbed by some employers in the country who refuse to pay their workers pay-as-you-earn or the PAYE deductions, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said such action is not only criminal but also immoral.
They deduct the workers pay-as-you-earn tax, pay-as-you-earn contribution which you have to pay as a tax to the government, to the inland revenue, and they keep it. They don't pay it over. And when you have several people doing so, it adds up. Now, it is a bad thing also for the employee, because at the end of the year, the employee will go, when they're doing the reconciliation, you may find, you at the end of the year, you say, well, I want to see if, when you do your return and you go to the tax man, they say, well, you know, I give you $200 more for the year than I say, what are you talking about, deal? Your employer didn't send in any taxes, so I can't give you no refund.
The former Minister of Finance further noted that such action by the corporate sector ultimately affects pension and retirement benefits, which is the fastest growing item on the current expenditure.
Making sure we don't have unsustainable pensions and retirement benefits, because you can have it as much as you want on paper, because if the system busts, and as we have heard in some countries, governments can't even pay pensions. We have to collect the taxes. And I've been telling the Inland Revenue for the last couple of years, they need to be more focused in the collection of the taxes. The IMF report made the same point, you know. It's not a point which it's not an original point they came up with, it's what I tell them. I said that this is not acceptable.
Also not happy with the constant criticisms being leveled against the Argyle International Airport, PM Gonsalves said that the air facility is a marvel. The Prime Minister, who is responsible for airports, said that many doubted that it would have been completed, and now that it is up and running, critics are trying their best to discredit the facility.
They said it to me. They say two things that Ralph would not see: God face and an international airport. Well, they ain't got no control over God face. They had none over the airport either. Don't build the airport, and I'm walking to make sure that I will see God face. You hear me? And some of them who playing holier than thou. There's a different story. I ain't getting involved in that one. Then when it is being built, every species of criticism was brought. You all remember them? And some which you don't remember, because I have a long memory on it, and I've internalized all of it. And up to today, they're wishing the airport to fail.
The Prime Minister identified the opposition New Democratic Party as fueling the culture of hate for the Argyle International Airport and described their agenda as petty.
The New Democratic Party fears, in relation to Argyle International Airport, two things. It fears that the airport will fail. But more than that, it fears that the airport will succeed. You hear me? One, they don't want it to succeed. It doesn't matter what they say to the contrary. Because they bad talk it at every single turn. The slightest problem arises at the airport is magnified. You see what happened with a fella, he can't even detect a bullet properly inside of a thing. What kind of airport they got it? A fella ain't go inside to follow a man who they say was supposed to empty a bottle of strong rum. What kind of stupid man they got there? They ain't got no leadership out there, they ain't got nothing, and so on, so on, so on. This airport is foolishness.
Dr. Gonzalez used the opportunity to speak on several positive attributes to the operation of the air facility, noting that there has been no flooding despite heavy rains, unlike that of the former E.T. Joshua Airport.
But they don't tell you that Amerijet comes here all the time with 24, 25 pallets, the big Amerijet, when it used to come with 3 and 4, the small one. That you had cancellation for 25% of Liat flights at E.T. Joshua. Look at all the rains which we have had over this season. If it was E.T. Joshua, the place would have been flooded. Plane them can't come. Remember they said that as soon as 2 shower rain come, Argyle go flood. You remember that? And journalists repeated it, you know. So-called independent journalists, they repeated it. I have a stack of stuff, you know, on it. But it's there. They said that I said that it wouldn't cost 1 cent to build, only get it from grants. I never said any such thing. And
this country will host a Liat shareholder governance meeting with the management of the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB, tomorrow, Friday, January 5th, 2018, in Kingstown to chart the way forward for the airline. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, who is chairman of the shareholder governance of Liat, made this announcement at Tuesday's media conference at Cabinet Room. The Liat meeting will include the management consultants and representatives from shareholder governments. As chairman of the Liat shareholder government, PM Gonzalez disclosed that a loan of US $7 million to Liat was recently finalized.
As the year ended, we finalized Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, and St. Vincent and Grenadines. We finalized a loan to Liat of $7 million US. You know, we're doing a lot of reviews and consultations about Liat, and the consultants were appointed. I had expected that there would have been a report which was earlier to feed into the work of the task force, but some of the consultancies, the appointments took a little longer than we had anticipated.
According to Dr. Gonzalez, the loan is divided among shareholder governments as follows. 35% or $2.44 million will be to Antigua and Barbuda. 53% or $3.72 million for Barbados, and 12% or $840,000 or over 2 million EC to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Dominica is also a shareholder government, and PM Gonzalez explained that in light of their circumstances, they were not asked to contribute towards the loan. The Prime Minister further stated that the Liat team wants to take the necessary steps so that they can have the requisite reforms or further reformers in Liat.
On Friday, there's going to be a meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines between the President of the Caribbean Development Bank and his team, Liat management, and myself as chairman of the shareholders of Liat, and the consultants would also be here. I want from very early this year to make the requisites, take the necessary steps so that we can have the requisite reforms or further reforms in Liat. That meeting is on Friday in St. Vincent.
In other news, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union continues to question the scheduled appointment of graduate teachers as of January 1st, 2018. In an interview with SVG-TV News earlier today, President of the union, Oswald Robinson, said that he was of the view that the Service Commission is responsible for such appointments and not a minister of government. President Robinson said he was also of the impression from the Service Commission that the appointment of over 100 graduate teachers were not completely finalized.
In several meetings we had, we were told that certain people don't deal with appointments. The reference point is always the Public Service Commission. And we had a meeting with the Public Service Commission the day before that announcement was made on Independence Day. We had a meeting the 26th. And we did not get that impression from the Service Commission that appointments would be made. But we heard that an announcement was made on Independence Day. But we would have already gone ahead in terms of pursuing legal redress with these matters, because some of them go way back. I know one announcement at Independence said up to 2012. Somebody told me the press conference is up to 2010. Right, but at Independence I think it said 2012. I'm not sure because I didn't hear the press conference of myself.
As it relates to the teachers' union being absent from a recent budget consultation with the Minister of Finance, in which PM Gonzalez accused persons of recording the meeting, Robinson said that the union was not formally invited. He explained that the teachers' union, along with the Public Service Union, the PSU, had written several times to the former and present finance minister to discuss matters relating to salary reform. However, nothing materialized.
Seeking for a meeting since in January. We reminded again in May. And when the new Minister of Finance took office, I was appointed to that office. We wrote again, and nobody have ever acknowledged any of our letters. That meeting doesn't have to do with budget consultation. That meeting is for government to set up the negotiating team to meet with us, to discuss with us. In other words, we're talking about collective bargaining around the table to discuss a salary proposal that PSU and the teachers union would have submitted. Nobody acknowledged receipt of that letter. Similarly, we have not received any calling notice for the budget consultation that we hear that we have been absent. Because as a professional organization, you must write to the teachers union asking for a meeting, indicating the time, the date, the place, and the purpose of the meeting. So we have not received any letter of invitation.
The construction of a new port in capital Kingston is part of the agenda of the Ministry of Economic Planning this year. So says Director of Planning Laura Anthony Brown as she spoke with SVG-TV News earlier today on the ministry's plans for the new year, noting that their work goes beyond financial matters.
Government has announced its intention to construct a new port right here in Kingston, and the process, well, there is a process involved. The first thing is that we have to have designs for the port. We have gone through the whole procurement processes, and we have concluded negotiations with the selected, the consultancy firm, which was number one. And we are just about waiting up no objection from the funding agency to award the contract. We expect to have the contract signed and ready by the beginning of February. it is a 12-month period of work. So we expect to have the designs on the port by early 2019, and then that would permit for construction to begin sometime in 2019 because the funding has already been identified.
Anthony Brown highlighted other work which the ministry aims at completing this year.
Then we will continue the works on the disaster vulnerability reduction project. That includes things like the long line road at Westwood to enable work to be done on the Coast Hill Road, the slope stabilization that happened a couple of years ago. Also, one of the things that we will do this year is to advance the work on the Chateaubriand jetty. That's a project that has been in the works for some time. We are about to complete the designs on that. Well, to have the designs done on that as well.
The planning director said she is also happy with the continuation of a project which she said aims at empowering persons who are vulnerable to poverty and hunger.
Including culinary arts, electrical engineering, plumbing, all of those issues. We are paying for them to be trained, computer repairs and so on. Once they have successfully completed their programs, we put them on an apprenticeship attachment for 6 months so that they can actually get some real work experience. The Zero Hunger Trust Fund pays them for 6 months. They can get some real work experience and hopefully branch out on their own. And so that is a program which has been working really well, and it is such a joy to see the young persons, not as many as we would like, but still, attain their training, get their certification in computer repairs and dealing with, with their other things, and to be able to branch out on their own. So we are not giving them a fish, we are teaching them how to fish. And I see that as a very important program.
Efforts to restore the Kingston Anglican Cathedral receive a much-needed boost as a check of $6,000 was handed over earlier today to Reverend Leopold Friday, Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of the Windward Islands. Handing over the check was Shelley John, the SVG's Tourism Authority's representative in Canada, who is an Anglican by baptism and communion. She said the funds were gathered from a fundraising concert held in Canada, noting that the project to restore the cathedral has tremendous support from fellow Anglicans there who sees the building as an important fixture.
It's a project that I know is very important to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to the historical idea of making things, making this a knowledgeable part of our community. I mean, they need to be aware of how important this historical building is. And, from where I sit, from a tourism point of view, it's also extremely important that when people visit the country, they're able to visit a historical building, which is, well kept, which is, part of the agenda of any tourist who's coming to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So from those two standpoints, I think it's important that the project move forward. Personally, I was a member of the church. My parents are buried there. I was married there, so I have a vested interest. So rest assured that moving forward, I will definitely make every effort to see what we can do in Canada.
Also speaking at the ceremony was former Minister of Culture, Rennie Batiste, who said the Anglican Cathedral building is also of importance as a historical site and looks forward to its restoration.
Encouraged to look at it as a national project because of the historical nature of the cathedral being a historical monument, and also we are hoping to work along, we've requested to work along with the National Trust and history students, heritage clubs would be interested in working with us because we want to do a full mapping of the cathedral churchyard There's some evidence that there are some graves that are there since in the 1700s and 1800s, so that we can do further tracing of families. A lot of work has gone into tracing the families of persons whose names appear on the monuments inside the cathedral. So we're trying to build that network to help us in the restoration efforts, and we look forward to the Vincentian public, both at home and abroad, continuing to give their support to this very worthy national project.
Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of the Windward Islands, Reverend Leopold Friday, expressed gratitude for the donation.
Thank you very much. Yes, I was happy to be there at the concert, and I totally enjoyed it.
Great.
I would like to once again thank those who organized it, including yourself, the chair of the committee, and those who participated in the concert itself. I look forward to other events which seek to continue to raise funds for the restoration of the St. George's Cathedral. Thank you.
In some police news now, we hear that the police here are investigating the death of a young man who was discovered in the Bamboo Range area, the trail leading to the Lasso Freya volcano on Wednesday morning. The young man, said to be in his early 30s, has been identified as Imran James, originally from Lomans Windward but residing in Orange Hill. His decomposed body was reportedly discovered by a group of men. According to information received, the body had what appeared to be multiple chop wounds. A post-mortem examination is expected to be performed to ascertain the cause of death. And the police say they have arrested and charged 3 men on Wednesday, January 3rd, 2018, for having in their possession a firearm and controlled drugs. They are Alwaki Stapleton, a 37-year-old technician of Rose Hall; Caldrick Chambers, a 26-year-old self-employed, also of Rose Hall; and Sidney Fortune, a 26-year-old farmer of Grenada. The police say they were apprehended at about 11 a.m. yesterday at Rosebank. The men were discovered with 1.380 revolver bearing an unknown serial number and 1 round of .380 ammunition without a license issued under the Firearms Act. They were also found in possession of 16,344 grams of cannabis with intent to supply. The trio was expected to appear before the Serious Offences Court today to answer to the charges.